Somewhere on a quiet street in Japan, a single machine is glowing in the dark. Nobody is watching it. Nobody needs to. It's just standing there, alone, on a street with no cameras, no guards, and no fence. Inside it sits enough food, water, and electricity to matter more than almost anyone walking past it will ever realize. Most people who see a machine like this assume they already understand it completely. A place to buy a cold drink, maybe a hot can of coffee if it's winter. But some of these machines were never really built to sell you anything at all. They were built to wait. By the end of this documentary, you'll understand why a country quietly filled its streets with millions of these small, patient machines, and why some of them are engineered to do something far more serious than dispense a soda. Let's start with the number that sounds almost made up the first time you hear it. Depending on exactly how you count them, Japan is home to somewhere between roughly 4 million and just over 5.5 million vending machines. To put that in perspective, that's often described as one machine for somewhere between every 20 and 30 people in the entire country. The United States actually has more machines in total. Estimates place that number close to 7 million. But once you account for how much smaller Japan is, the difference becomes clear. Nowhere else on Earth packs this many machines into this little space. Which raises an obvious question. Why does a country already famous for tiny living spaces and careful use of land keep finding room for millions of machines that just stand there? To understand that, we have to go back much further than most people expect, all the way to 1888.
In a coastal town now known as Shimonoseki, an inventor and furniture designer named Koshichi Tawayara patented Japan's very first automatic vending machine. It didn't sell drinks, it didn't sell snacks, it sold tobacco. At first glance, that might sound like a minor historical footnote, a single machine in a single town selling a single product. But look closer at how it actually worked, and something more interesting starts to emerge. Tawayara's machine wasn't just a simple metal box with a coin slot. It included a mechanism specifically designed to catch counterfeit coins, and another mechanism that would return your money if the product had already sold out. In 1888, that level of built-in trust and fairness, engineered directly into a machine standing unattended in public, was genuinely ahead of its time. 16 years later, in 1904, Tawayara created something even more unusual, an automatic dispenser for postage stamps and postcards. That machine still exists today. It sits quietly inside the Postal Museum in Tokyo, recognized as the oldest surviving vending machine in the entire country. For the next several decades, vending machines in Japan slowly expanded. Candy machines in the 1920s, a brief novelty phase in the early 1930s when some machines were fitted with tiny motion pictures and music just to draw a crowd. But the real turning point, the one that quietly created the version of Japan we recognize today, didn't come from a vending machine at all. It came from a coin. In 1967, Japan changed the material used to produce its 100-yen coin, replacing silver with a cheaper metal alloy. It sounds like a purely financial decision, a cost-saving measure buried in a government report somewhere, but the consequence was enormous.
Within just 2 years, the number of these coins in circulation nearly doubled. Today, more than 10 billion of them are estimated to be in circulation across the country. Suddenly, millions of people were carrying around exactly the kind of small, reliable currency that a vending machine needed to function smoothly, all day, every day, without anyone standing behind a counter to make change. A machine is only as useful as the coin that feeds it, and in 1967, Japan accidentally handed its machines exactly what they needed to take over the streets. From there, the format exploded. By the 1950s, drink and juice machines were already gaining popularity. By the 1970s, a specific engineering breakthrough pushed things even further. A dual-temperature vending machine capable of keeping some drinks ice-cold and others piping hot inside the very same unit. Suddenly, a single machine could sell an icy drink in the middle of summer and a warm can of coffee in the depths of winter, without ever needing to be swapped out or restocked differently by season. It's a small mechanical detail, but it quietly solved one of the last real limitations standing between vending machines and year-round, everyday usefulness. And once that limitation disappeared, the machines simply never stopped spreading. They appeared outside train stations, along quiet residential streets, beside vending machines in office buildings and school hallways,
And then, somewhere along the way, they appeared in places that seem almost impossible for an unguarded machine to survive. Rural crossroads with no other buildings in sight, remote hiking trails hours from the nearest town, narrow mountain roads where the nearest neighbor might be a considerable walk away.
In most countries, a machine standing completely alone, stocked with cash and product, in a location like that would be an open invitation. In Japan, it simply became part of the landscape. Multiple sources point to the same underlying explanation. Japan's remarkably low rates of vandalism and petty crime allow these machines to exist unguarded in places where, almost anywhere else in the world, they simply wouldn't survive. It isn't primarily a technology story. There's no elaborate anti-theft system built into most of these machines. It's a trust story, a quiet, decades-long social agreement that a machine standing alone on a street corner is safe exactly where it stands. And once you understand how much trust these machines have already earned, the next part of the story starts to make a strange kind of sense. Because somewhere along the way, a few of these ordinary, everyday machines were quietly redesigned to do something far more serious than dispense a drink. Rewind to March of 2011, when a massive earthquake and tsunami struck the northeast coast of Japan. In the chaos that followed, one vending machine operator deployed specialized cup vending units directly to evacuation centers, providing hot drinks like coffee and cocoa to displaced residents living through one of the hardest moments of their lives. For some of those residents, it was reportedly the first hot cup of coffee they'd had in weeks. It's a small detail, but it planted an idea that would grow much larger in the years that followed. What if some vending machines weren't just useful during a disaster? What if a few of them could be specifically engineered for one?
In the years since, a new kind of vending machine has quietly begun appearing near evacuation shelters in earthquake-vulnerable regions of the country. From the outside, during ordinary days, it looks exactly like any other machine. Same coin slot, same buttons, same rows of drinks and snacks behind the glass. But built into some of these units is a mechanism that activates automatically the moment a major earthquake is detected, commonly reported at a threshold around magnitude 5 or higher. When that happens, the machine unlocks itself completely. Every drink inside becomes free. Some versions of these machines are stocked with hundreds of bottles and cans, alongside emergency supplies like food, protective masks, vitamins, and in some cases even basic sanitation items, positioned specifically near shelters where evacuees are likely to gather first. One version even includes a hand-crank generator, allowing it to keep dispensing free drinks even if the power goes out entirely. Think about what that actually means. A machine that spends the overwhelming majority of its life doing something almost mundane, quietly selling drinks to commuters and students and tourists, is simultaneously standing by, fully stocked, waiting for a moment that, with any luck, may never come at all. A local administrator overseeing one of these installations reportedly summarized the shift in a single sentence. These machines are no longer simply convenience machines. They've become survival machines. That single sentence captures something much bigger than vending machines themselves.
Because this entire story, from a single tobacco dispenser in 1888 to a reminted coin in 1967 to a hand-crank emergency unit standing quietly outside a shelter today, was never really about convenience at all. It was about trust, built patiently over more than a century, one small transaction at a time. Every coin accepted without hesitation, every unattended machine left untouched on an empty street, every small act of faith that the machine would do exactly what it promised every single time. Eventually, that quiet, accumulated trust became strong enough to carry something far heavier than a can of coffee. It became strong enough to carry the possibility of saving a life. The next time you walk past a glowing vending machine on an empty street, anywhere in Japan, you might look at it a little differently. Most of the time, it's exactly what it appears to be: a quick, convenient way to grab a cold drink or a warm can of coffee. But every so often, quietly, patiently, one of these machines is doing something else entirely. It's simply waiting, fully stocked, fully ready, hoping in its own small mechanical way that it never actually has to prove what it was really built for.